so much for tuning in today. I'm going to invite Chris Kendall, and we are going to talk about a topic which I think is really important because there are so many stories going around that when you are on a raw food diet, completely raw, it's impossible to get cancer. Is this a fact? Is this not a fact? This is a myth. We're going to talk about it with Chris, and he's going to share also some of his personal story. I'm going to ask him some questions. Also, feel free to drop some questions in the comments if you have them. And I'm just real looking forward to this talk. So I'm going to invite him now. Just a moment.
Hey, Mirjam.
Hey,
How
Chris.
you doing?
I'm getting you.
Doing very well. Oh gosh, yeah. I'm gonna check my teeth here. I was just chewing away, getting that curry down. Excuse me. Yeah, yeah. It's
I
not rude, but
saw
it's like a
you
mirror.
eating your salad real quick. I'm telling you, I made a salad from Cassie's book and it was so delicious, but it was so much I couldn't finish it. So it's in the fridge now.
Leftovers can be a blessing, as long as they stay
Oh,
pretty nice. Sometimes when the lettuce gets a little bit kind of crazy and limp, it's not as fun, but yeah, you can always add fresh stuff to
yeah,
it.
that's true. But I used romaine lettuce,
Yeah,
and I'm always pretty happy with romaine still the next day.
yeah, yeah. No,
It's
I'd
one of the
agree.
few ones that I'm like, you are still pretty acceptable.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. I find that and Napa cabbage not too bad. Bok choy, not too bad. Kind of those little hardier ones. But
Yeah.
some of them can definitely start to get a little bit funny, but still doable.
Yeah, I enjoyed your salad with Neva yesterday.
Yeah,
It's so
yeah. So
good.
mango. I mean,
Oh,
you put mango to almost anything. It's pretty dang nice. I mean, you could put it on your skin, and it's even
yeah.
nice.
It's a bit bad that you cannot lick yourself when you have mango on your skin, right?
That's what partner's
Yeah,
for.
that's true. But then you are missing out on the mango unless it's on your partner. Yeah.
Exactly. Sharing is caring.
Oh, yeah. It gives a whole new spin to caring now, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I love it all.
Yeah. Hey, Chris. We are going to talk about a topic that
Yes.
is not so much discussed actually in this way
Yeah.
in the raw food community,
Yeah.
but there are quite a few myths out there. And
Absolutely.
I thought we are going to talk about the raw food diet and about some myths that we just want to smash here today.
Smash.
But yeah, bang. But also a little bit about
Yeah.
you, about your personal story, because I need to tell you, I was a little bit teary when the news reached me that you were going through skin cancer.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, my goodness, I just really, my heart went out to you. And I thought, oh, dude, I just really want to give you a hug and just tell you
Mhm.
that I'm there for you. I held back a little bit with reaching out initially because I thought you have enough on your plate.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's a big thing already sharing it with the world. But I wondered, how did you find out that you had cancer? Were you experiencing pain or some symptoms? What happened
Mhm.
that you found out that you were actually having skin cancer?
Well, first off, thank you so much for the concern and the care behind that. And it's kind of interesting because I can very honestly say it didn't concern me at all. Like I actually wasn't emotionally shifted or I wasn't worried. It was basal cell carcinoma, which is known as a like non-lethal, non-spreading, mild form of skin cancer, which is the absolute most common. It's like I can't remember the exact statistic. It would have been wise for me to brush up on that, but it's like one in every handful or so. It's a high number of people that will get some of those in their life. So it's very, very common. And really, what happened with me in that situation was I had a few little spots, like one over here and one over here. And yeah, I'll start there, where it just was like a little crusty spot.
Right.
It was just like a little teeny crusty spot that felt almost like a skin colored scab, or just slightly raised portion of skin that was not going away. Like it would sometimes I'd kind of flake it off and it'd just be like a little dead piece of skin, and I'd like flake it
Right.
off, like, okay, like that's
Yeah.
nothing. And then all of a sudden it'd come back and it just kept on coming back. And it was over, if I remember correctly, about a year and a half where I noticed it. It was coming and going and coming and going. And I was like, okay, well, something's a little weird here. Like it just never totally heals and becomes normal flat skin again. So then I just went to a doctor who then referred me to a dermatologist. And, they really looked into it and classified it as a basal cell carcinoma with the possibility of some other ones being, I can't pronounce it right. I'm going to actually refer here. Actinic keratosis, which is another form, which is potentially more dangerous, which can turn into squamous cell carcinomas, which those are more dangerous and aggressive, grow faster, and sometimes you can actually be looking at radiation. Whereas with the basal cell carcinoma, which was the one that they said like for sure, that one can just be either cut out or frozen. And you can also use topical creams and stuff like that for. So that's how I first found out about it. And I reached out to people that I knew, like I reached out to Dr. Doug Graham and Doctors Rick and Karen Dina, and did my own research online to try and find out more. And then I kind of went forward from there.
Yeah. And so you eventually chose for a treatment with skin cream, correct?
Actually, first, this one over here, because I actually have a scar, which I'm a bit of a vain guy, I'll admit, like I have some vanity. And when this was left behind, I was not super happy with it. It's like, it's not the end of the world, and I'm not really crying about it. Maybe it makes me look tougher. I kind of wish it was across here, but yeah, I wasn't super pleased with that. So when I started to get another little one here, and then the one here got a little bit bigger, and I started to notice one a little bit here, that's when I researched even more other options. And at the recommendation actually of Dr. Doug Graham, tried out a topical cream, which is a chemotherapy cream. It's really interesting in that the carcinomas, it's a certain reproduction cycle where it's reproducing faster than the other skin cells around it. And this cream basically stops that specific amino acid from reproducing. And because of that, the other skin cells, they have a longer, more robust cycle. And so those cancerous cells, they die off before the other ones do. So it's traumatic to the skin around it. But when you do it for the long enough cycle, the actual cancer cells themselves, they die, and then new skin comes up after. So I chose that route because I saw some other ones popping up and I noticed them, and I didn't want to have a whole bunch of scars across my face or potentially have other little ones prop up over some time. And the cream basically almost resets you. I'm just throwing a number, we'll say 10, 15 years back, right? Where it's like little teeny ones that you don't even know about then also get wiped out. Because like any cancer, when people start to actually notice something, it's usually like a decade of it slowly dividing and developing, right? So I do also just want to know, because I know we kind of started at the beginning with, people think that if you're on a raw food diet, it's impossible to get any type of cancer, including skin cancer. And there's kind of a often touted kind of view that the sun can only be beneficial, and the only reason somebody could get skin cancer is because they're detoxing and baking that detox in, or because of toxicity. And if you're really clean, then you can't get it. And this really is a mistaken concept, and a dangerous one. I have seen raw foodists just burn and burn and burn themselves and just like bask under the sun nonstop. And while definitely I've come to the understanding and belief that sun exposure, of course, is very healthful in certain amounts, but you can really overdo it just like anything. And for myself, I can really say, I think the absolute number one reason why I got these, because, I mean, I've been a raw foodist for 20 years now. I don't think that I'm not clean enough, or that I'm like, just too toxic, and that's why they came up.
No.
Really what is happening there is, first, I mean, you can tell I'm very fair skinned. I have even a little bit of red. Some people have called me ginger. I don't identify as ginger, and I have nothing against gingers. I think it's amazing, but I don't.
No.
Um, and even when I was young, when I was like, I think I was like 8 or 9, when I'd go outside with my shirt off, I would sunburn really easy and even get big blisters. And my doctor actually said that I was allergic to the sun, which I think is a complete crap. But he did give me like steroidal cream and like all this stuff and said like avoid the sun. And so, I mean, just saying that because I have a history of burning incredibly easy, and I traveled a ton to the tropics. I was very blessed by my parents. They take us to the tropics every year or two, almost my whole
Wow.
youth. And every time I've been to the tropics, I can actually say I've been to the tropics at least 40 times now because I went on my own a lot. I've burnt at least once or twice every single time to the degree where I'd have to stay out of the sun for a few days. And there's been a few times where I've burnt myself where I couldn't leave the house or put clothing on for weeks and over a month.
Ooh.
Like I should have went to a hospital realistically, peeling sheets of skin off myself.
Oh,
And then of course also I surf and skateboard, so I've been outside a lot, and especially the backs of my hands and this side of my face where the sun is setting in Costa Rica. I've burnt myself a ton, and I used to kind of go on the thought that like all sunscreens are cancer causing and evil, and like just avoid them like the plague as well. So I underutilized any protection, overburnt myself many times, and that led to radiation damage. That's essentially what it
yeah,
is, radiation damage
yeah,
that the body can't recover from. And so, this is where I ended up. And it's I think it's really important to note that like again, like slowly building a tan, that can be really beneficial. It still can cause damage because it still is radiation damage. So if you're like a sun worshiper that just suntans all the time and thinks you're not getting any possibility of damage, the science doesn't say that's true. But at the same time, it's better to be slowly building a tan and having a bit of a tan rather than consistently burning. So I kind of wanted to put that up front there.
yeah. I love that you say that, and it's one of the things that I also wanted to talk with you about. So it's great
Yeah.
that you started talking about it because I personally do not use any protection against my skin, as in creams.
Yeah.
And but I'll elaborate a bit on
Mhm.
that. Yes, I do enjoy a high raw food diet,
Yeah.
and yes, I do believe because I am not as acidic as someone who would eat like animal products, processed products, and so on. I
Mhm.
definitely believe that my diet gives my body some sort of protection.
Yeah.
However, my body will still give me signals if
Mhm.
I am staying too long in the
Yeah.
sun. And sunburn is not your first signal.
No, no, it's true.
And so I truly believe that you need to take everything into account. Like, yes, it's great that you eat healthily, and I would recommend everyone to eat like
Huge.
a ton of raw
Yeah.
food because it's
Yeah.
super, super good. And yes, it's super good because you will become more alkaline,
Yeah.
but you can still sunburn, and sunburn is just so bad for you, and it's just
Yeah.
ignoring every single signal that has been given by your body. Like,
Mhm.
it's not for reason that without reason that you will become at a certain point really hot. Like,
Yeah.
it's a signal.
Yeah.
And we have trees and we have shade and
Absolutely.
yeah, so there are
Yeah.
so many things that nature has provided us to protect us from the sun. And yes, I definitely believe, because you have also the other side. They say like sun is poison, you need to
Mhm.
stay out of the sun. And
Yeah.
no, sun is
Yeah.
really healthy for you,
Yeah, we need
and
sun exposure as well
you
for
need it.
so many reasons. Absolutely. And
Yeah, and so there's this fine line,
yeah.
but for me, it's when I hear people say like, "Oh man, when you're a raw foodie, you cannot get cancer. Plus, you also cannot get sunburned." I'm like, "Well, yes, you can. If you
Yes.
stay long enough in the sun, you can." And
Yeah.
of course, some people burn more easily than
Yeah.
others. Yeah, like
Exactly.
you burn really easily, and yeah. But I wondered like uh, I I probably already know the answer to it, but I thought it's interesting also for other people to hear. Like, have you like developed some fear about being outside in the sun for long hours, or how do you go about it now?
Well, uh, I'll answer that first, and then I also want to talk about some things that came up while you were
Yeah,
mentioning all that. I can be honest, say like I don't have fear. I just am more prepared now,
exactly.
like and I take more consideration. You learn and grow and hopefully change things a little bit as you learn new things, right? And so I mean, we can look out to nature, and I mean, animals typically aren't out in the sun basking all day, especially not at the highest time of like midday,
Exactly.
like
12,
um,
3.
yeah, exactly. That's usually when they're in their shelter, or otherwise they're busy and doing things that isn't directly in the sun unless they absolutely have to be, So, I mean, that's kind of a bit of a cue. I do utilize a good quality sunscreen when I know that I'm going to be in the sun at a time where I'm more susceptible to burn, because
Right.
I still love to skateboard, and if my friends are like, "Hey, going out," and that's the time, I'm not going to be like, "Nope, can't do it now. I'm not doing that anymore." Well,
Yeah,
no, instead I'll use a quality sunscreen. I'll wear hats. I'll wear a long sleeve or even just like a light shirt, anything like that. I mean, creating that barrier with a shirt or a hat is usually one of the easiest ways to do it, especially if we don't want to put something on our skin,
yeah,
But yeah, no, I don't have fear around it. I'm just more mindful and,
yeah,
proactive, and that helps a heck of a lot, and you're so spot on too about it being different for different people. And I think that's sometimes where this kind of black and white attitude kind of comes up, and anything that's black and white, I'll say this quote to the end. It's like, the only people that talk in absolutes are the Sith. It's like if you're like just completely black or white, well, it's not really a balanced attitude. It's not really true anywhere you look. So if somebody is a darker skin tone, well, yeah, their melanin is going to be refracting and absorbing in a different way than somebody who is really, really fair and more susceptible to burn. So that's one aspect of it. And I think some people, because absolutely, when you're eating a high water content diet and your skin is really well hydrated and you're just flooding your body with all these beautiful beneficial nutrients and antioxidants and flavonoids that protect your skin and provide basically like an anti-radiation covering, like to some degree, well, yeah, you're much more protected, and
yeah,
so some people that
exactly.
already have maybe a little darker skin tone are a little less susceptible to burning, and then they go on this lifestyle and they feel like I can't burn. Well, yeah, maybe to them that it's almost hard to burn,
Yeah,
but that doesn't mean that they aren't still causing some radiation damage.
exactly.
Um, it just means that they aren't as susceptible to it as someone like me, or somebody who's like someone who's a true ginger, like they can get really easily burnt,
Yeah,
right? No matter if they're on a raw food diet, right?
yeah,
So it's not black and white, but sometimes we don't notice things, and then we are led to believe that is completely fabricated and is a falsity that you can get any damage from the sun. So,
yeah.
yeah.
I love that you said that. Like, it doesn't mean that if you don't burn easily that you don't damage
Yep.
yourself. I love that. That's really great.
Yeah, it's
You're a
a
rock
sad
star.
reality. I mean, I would love to say that, the raw food diet makes you invincible and that you could just like, get shot by lasers. And I mean, the sun is kind of like a giant laser, right?
Yeah,
But you can just like sit out there all day and you know what? Maybe some people can to a decent degree, but
yeah,
it's going to always be a gradient, and there's going to be a lot of factors that are actually going to come into play, like how hydrated you are that day. If you're dehydrated and you don't believe you should drink any water and you just get all your water from fruit, well, you're going to be more susceptible to sun damage than somebody that drinks water and is well
that's
hydrated.
true.
Um,
Yeah.
if you're in an
And
area where there's like closer to the equator, or like there's so many factors. If you're up on a mountain, like all those things actually are going to impact your body's ability to take the sun and how much damage it's going to take.
yeah, yeah, so true. Cassie's saying, I notice when I drink more green juices, I don't get a sunburn. Yeah, that's just what you said, Chris,
Yeah,
like how you're fueling yourself, like
yeah,
how much protection are you putting inside your body?
yeah. I have a cool tip actually
Ah,
too, because I mean, I have a friend who is a ginger and he gets burnt very easily, and he said if before he goes in the sun, he drinks like a liter of carrot juice, and he's tried a ton of different
Yeah.
things. He said specifically carrot juice, the vitamin A and the hydration and all that good stuff. He says it's like much harder for him to sunburn. So,
Yeah.
I mean, hydration and high antioxidants and those flavonoids and carotenoids and stuff like that. I mean, even coconut, like actually eating coconut is like an internal sunscreen to a degree.
Yes.
And you can make natural sunscreens. You can make stuff with like coconut oil and raspberry seed oil, which is a 40 SPF by itself, or
Wow.
carrot seed oil is a 40 SPF. So, you can utilize those to make natural sunscreens if you don't want to use, say, zinc oxide or titanium oxide, which are already some of the more natural kind of sunscreens
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
And so, uh, are there other things that you say like, oh man, I wish that I had known this before, when it comes to sunburn specifically, or, how I could have protected myself?
I mean, I try not to go down that route because that's led me to where I am and being able to share this message and
Sure.
hopefully impact other people. But I mean, for just myself, yeah, I mean, if I could have been more mindful, then I would have had a little bit less sun aging and a little bit less pain through doing this and a little bit less of an ego hit, because I mean, here I am, Dr. Health Guy, getting skin cancer, and it doesn't feel amazing, but at the same time, it's serving its purpose and
Yeah.
it's helping me to learn and grow and hopefully help others prevent this because there are so many things in the raw food and health movement that are touted as absolutes, that are great marketing tactics, and also just people want to believe and maybe do believe based on very limited information and or misinformation. But I really want to do my absolute best to kind of sift through that and help others sift through that, and just realize that this is an amazing, amazing lifestyle that brings us so much, and it does
Yeah.
protect us in so many ways, against today's degenerative diseases and sun damage and all that kind of stuff. Creates a more holistic atmosphere and connection to ourself. But again, it doesn't make us absolutely invincible and
No.
invulnerable, and there are more things hitting us today than ever before. So it's raw food diet is just one spoke on the wheel. It is just one spoke on the wheel. It's a powerful one because people are so far off base with diet, and diet makes a big difference. But there are a lot of other aspects that really, really impact our health and our body's ability to remain and maintain homeostasis and
Yeah.
robust health.
Yeah. I love your look on life in that regard. And I also think like, I didn't ask the question like to go down a rabbit hole like, oh man, I wish this, wish that, but it's more like out of those, reflections will always result so many amazing tips like,
Yeah.
oh man, if I had known this, then I would have done that. And that becomes like an advice, a tip to
Yeah.
someone. And yeah, mindful is also so good, like to be way more aware and to become just um more careful with ourselves.
Yeah.
And especially, I love growing older because the older that I become, the more, relaxed you are about
Yeah.
so many things in
Yeah.
life. And if you look back and you're like, my goodness, how could I've ever, worried about this or
Yeah.
things, thought about that. And also with these things, it's just so wonderful because when you're young, you really think, whatever, nothing can happen to me, I'm
Yeah.
sort of like invincible and
I know it. Yeah.
yes, right?
Yeah.
Which is, oh my goodness. Hey, and is there anything else that you want to say on sun exposure, or ready like to move on a little bit, or
You know, sun exposure, I think, it is so important. It is important to get enough sun exposure, but just like anything, we can overdo it, and the raw food diet isn't the absolute cure-all or preventative for everything. It's important for hormonal function, and nothing can completely replace it. So, we don't want to be gnomes hiding in caves. And during the winter months, I actually use a light therapy device, two different types. I use red light therapy as well as I use a spurdy lamp for vitamin D production, because that's so important for hormonal health and calcium absorption and overall well-being and happiness. So
yeah.
it's not, again, it's not that black or white like sun bad, sun good. It's like it, it's that middle ground, it's
Yeah.
there are a lot of things that are a middle ground. There are some things that aren't. I love the saying that Dr. Graham says, because some people say, like, why don't you just be more middle with diet? It's like, well, like, how about like moderate child abuse? Like, is like just a little bit of it okay? Like, it's kind of an interesting thing. But when we're talking about sun exposure, I do think that it is kind of that moderate amount, and enjoying it, but not overdoing it to where we can actually tell we're regretting it, like,
Yeah.
and if not regretting it, feeling it, it's tough to do. It is tough to do, but slow and steady wins the race. I can tell you, this last year I went to Costa Rica for, I think for me it was the 14th time, 13th or 14th time,
Wow.
and it was the first time I went and didn't burn myself.
Wow.
I was very proud of that.
Yeah.
I actually slowly built up by utilizing some sun beds, which I know there is also some. I mean, you're getting radiation from that as well, but doing it in small amounts. And I don't recommend that like all the time, nonstop. But over a month period, I slowly built up a little bit of a base. And when I got out there on the first few days, I did use a really quality
Yeah.
sunscreen. I wore long sleeves. I wore my hat. When I went surfing, I used like a zinc oxide on my face, which made me look like Data from Star Trek, but I was willing to look like Data from Star Trek. And I walked away feeling great and not having sunburn and not needing to completely lather myself and avoid the sun for the short trip I
Yeah.
was on.
Yeah. Wow, that's wonderful. What a growth.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Slowly learning. It's only taken 40 some years, at that time, 43 years to learn not to burn myself.
Yeah. Well, you're here now and and
Yeah.
it's amazing because you can now help other people with it. So I think that's wonderful. Like everything that happens in life, whether it's good or bad, but especially the bad things,
Yeah.
will make us so much stronger, right?
Yeah.
Because we need to fight for those things to get over it, to get a hang of it. And
Mm.
well, you did that. And I think it's just amazing how you embraced this and also how you did your own research. And, it's also what you said, that doctor from your youth, like childhood, that
Yeah.
recommended steroids and all this like heavy full on stuff. It's
Yeah.
and then you are way too small, too little to make big decisions yourself.
Mhm.
But now, you can, and you chose a route that has helped you so much and has you helped overcome. And I wondered, are you going back to see a doctor like in a year's time or something to see like where you're at, or how is that process going?
So after using that, it's called FUDIX, and there's different names for it. I haven't had any other spots, and the spot the couple spots that I did have that were like crusty and I could tell were slowly developing that direction have went away. I mean, if you can get really close and I'd completely take off every single filter. No, if I get really close, you can still see some spots where the skin is still healing from underneath. And I mean, I noticed them probably more than anyone because,
Yeah.
I'm looking at myself more, um, but it's gotten a heck of a lot better. That said, I do, and I don't have any that I'm worried about, but I'm definitely going to be more proactive. If I start to notice something, then I'm going to go. But I don't have like a set time schedule for when I'm going to do anything. I'm just really being more mindful and watching myself
Yes.
and trying to learn more.
Yes.
And I mean, I just recently got an email about a different, newer kind of topical cream that's a little less aggressive, that but can potentially be useful as well. So I want to research that more and learn about it. I do have a spot on my back, which I burnt my back a whole bunch too, and I'm gonna get that checked out here at some time. But since it's on my back, I'm not quite as worried about it out of pure vanity, because again, it's non-lethal. And having a scar on my back, getting it cut out, I could care less, to be honest,
Yeah.
compared to having giant
In your
scars across my
in your
face.
face, yeah,
Yeah,
of
so
course.
so with that, I'm not as worried, but I am proactive and I am going to go get that one checked out. And that's just one thing that I do want to mention on this topic, is I know also within the raw food community and natural health community, there can be the view that basically doctors are all idiots and you never want to go to the doctor and everything should be natural at all costs, and never get a blood test or never take a vitamin, or like, I know there are people who have definitely judged me for utilizing the cream that I chose to use and have told me, well, I should have done this and I should have done that and use this black salve instead. And I researched all those, and I'm not saying that definitively I'm the oracle that knows for sure those can't be effective, but I've read enough results and testimonies of people utilizing different things that I felt safer with the way I went than trying to take a chance and possibly causing more scarring. There's been people who've had horrible results with some different types of natural remedies, and they're not all the same, right? So I definitely think that the medical route in many things can have its time and place. I'm definitely a person who I probably actually wouldn't be here if it wasn't for medical intervention. When I was in a motorcycle accident, if I didn't get antibiotics and didn't get surgeries and, all that kind of stuff, I probably would have died,
Yeah.
So, and even with my hand, I got a cat bite, which got really badly infected and required four surgeries on my hand and tons of antibiotics, which a lot of people are like, antibiotics are the devil, and having it once you're ruined for life, and there's so much fear
Yeah.
around it. And I was like, I don't have fear around
No.
it. I bounced back from it. I had a month almost of antibiotics, and my digestion's great, everything's great. I haven't noticed even a blip. Whereas I know other people, the thought of it will give them a blip, and I
Yeah.
think that's a big part of this too, is mindset. Like the raw food diet is incredibly healthful. It has a huge, huge impact. But I've also met raw foodists that are so in their head and so stressed that they're really failing to thrive, and they're trying to detox themselves to the end of the world into a skeleton. And it's like, there are so much more than just food, and our mindset is
Exactly.
easily as big. Like I really do think that for the most part, mindset is going to trump almost anything else we can look at. I mean, it's all one
Yeah.
spoke, but
Yeah.
mindset and fear and stress, it does a number on you in more ways than I could count or list.
Yeah. So good. I love it. It's yeah, it's spot on. I agree with everything that you have just said. It is really, really wonderful. Like when it comes to doctors, um so many nasty things are being said
Yeah.
about so many doctors, but there are so many great ones out there who
Mhm.
really truly want you to thrive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I am not like a huge fan of antibiotics either,
No,
because
no,
yes, it does damage your gut. But
absolutely.
the cool thing
Yeah.
is, I am telling you, if I am in a life-threatening situation and antibiotics is the thing that can save
Yeah.
me, heck yes.
Yeah.
Heck yes.
Yeah.
But the cool thing is, I also know how to help my body to build again a super strong
Yeah.
gut afterwards. And I
Absolutely.
think that is way more important. It's having the knowledge
Yeah.
what things you should do in your general life just to stay healthy and to enjoy vibrant
Yeah.
health. And we are convinced that is a super high raw food diet, and
Absolutely.
that will make you win the race. But then again, happen so many things in life unforeseen.
Yeah.
And I also know of people who are or were even, or because they are not here anymore, so stubborn
Yeah.
in their approach because they were just so opposed to doctors, to the medical world. And I'm like, well, that's a real bummer because I think I see the medical world as the alternative route and not our regular route. I really see
Absolutely.
like the
Yeah.
natural hygiene,
Yeah.
and the raw food diet. That is our regular route.
Yeah.
But I am not opposed to that alternative route at all. If that means it can save a life or help you in a way that your diet cannot. So if you need to have a surgery because your leg is broken,
Yeah.
yes, of course, you can also let it heal naturally. You
Yeah.
you can.
Yeah.
But it's all about choices. And what you also said about, some raw foodies, they are so, I think, not free at all
Mm.
because they have this ideologies in their
Yeah.
minds. And I'm like, you are not really enjoying your life, it
Yeah.
seems, because
Yeah.
it feels like an obsession, an unhealthy obsession.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to live that way, and
Yeah.
it's the same way like that raw is law, no, raw isn't law.
No. Yeah.
it just
It's a
isn't.
tool.
And so all those absolutes and all those fears, and we need to stay away from it. And I also find it so hurtful, like to hear you share how people have like commented on you, like you should have used this, you should have done that.
Mm.
um, it is so much more powerful to come alongside someone and to ask questions
Mm.
before actually assuming that you might not have done your
Yeah.
research, you know. And even so, when people choose a route that we wouldn't choose, the best thing is just to love on them, because that is truly what is powerful and what's going to matter in the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
We're all just doing the best we can, right?
yeah,
And it's we all learn together,
yeah,
we all learn together and hopefully grow together. And to me, this diet and lifestyle is about compassion for self and others and animals. And the more compassionate we can be towards ourselves and others, the easier this whole thing is going to be, right? We're going to grow a
yeah,
lot more effectively than trying to shove things down each other's throats.
yeah.
So it's
Well, it's amazing how super duper compassionate some people are about animals
yeah.
and then are so fierce
Yeah.
against their fellow humans. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
that should be a little bit more in balance.
Yeah, as they say, I mean, it's always a reflection. It's and kind of going back to what you were mentioning with kind of people sometimes being so hard and so like as we said before, black and white. It can really reflect how they are with their own inner talk and with themselves and self-development. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying better than or worse than. It's just realities, right? And you know, if we're living from a should, if we're just like feeling we have to, and we're doing this diet because we should and have to, well, it's going to be a completely different quality than doing it because we love it. It feels so good, and it's what we genuinely want on every single level,
Yes.
and denial of self and denial of what we truly want and want to experience or how we want to express ourselves is always going to come back to bite us in the butt. And usually, what it ends up doing is causing way bigger back and forth and zigzags. And you know, it's it just makes it harder on ourselves, right? And so that's kind of where that middle route of self-acceptance and acceptance of what is without, and just focusing in on what we genuinely want to experience, to create, and doing our best to live by that without regret or guilt, I think is going to bring about the most harmonious kind of path forward with the least amount of stress. Because stress is a given, absolutely, no matter what. We're going to have some hard times, but I think the softer we are with ourselves and the more mindful of those really extreme points of view and, living from shoulds or have tos or
Yes.
can'ts, it's just going to be much easier on
Yeah.
ourselves.
Hey, and I just was thinking about, because people were a bit critical and some, what you chose, like with that cream.
Mhm.
What would be like a downside of using that product?
Really, it's interesting because there are very little actual downsides reported in the long term. In the short term, though, it can be really irritating and painful and unsightly. So it's like a short term, but I couldn't really see any definitive long-term negatives. I mean, you can overdo it and it can be a little bit hard on your eliminatory organs because it is, a chemotherapy cream. So it's not like, the easiest on your system, but as long as you're in good health, it doesn't cause any permanent damage or overwhelm it to the degree where you need to worry about it, at least from my research and what I felt for myself.
Yeah.
Um, but I can really say it was very trying. Like I made a whole video on the process, and it was
Yeah.
like about a month and a half of it really sucking, like really sucking. Like, and that did impact me too, because I was during the actual procedure, and then for like 3 months after, you basically want to avoid the sun as well. So that's why I chose to do it in February, when it was,
Yeah.
kind of like that. But I mean, not getting out in the sun and having like a really tight, itchy, painful, even at times bloody face, like is not fun. It's really not
Yeah.
fun. So it was physically and mentally and emotionally draining and challenging. But I am happy with the result, and I prefer that, especially seeing that it should, not trying to live from shoulds, but it should prevent the need to do anything else for years in the future.
Yeah.
And I mean, I won't say indefinitely because, you know, I'm still getting some sun exposure, and depending upon who you talk to and believe, the impacts of the sun are slowly getting a little bit worse. Dependent upon where you live and move. And I won't say that I know definitively that either, but there's information out there. I like to take all sides. Um, so yeah, I guess that's kind of where I'm at with it now, anyway.
Yeah. So cool to know. Yeah, I saw some of the pictures that you
Yeah,
shared, and ooh,
it
yeah,
was
it looked really
pretty bad.
painful.
It was more painful than I can say, to be honest. It was pretty bad. There was maybe about a week and a half where it was like quite bad. Like, yeah, quite bad. But I'm very thankful that's in the past. I still feel like my skin is still healing a bit, and I did notice, like, when I was researching it, it said for some people it can take 8+ months for your skin to go completely back to normal.
Yeah.
But the typical result is, younger appearing, softer, nicer skin afterwards.
Yes.
So, and I've been a little more mindful too. I've actually started utilizing some quality raw vegan natural face creams on occasion. One from Morocco Method, which is like a Zen cream. I even got a what's it called, a discount link for it.
Come on.
Banana, 25% off.
Come on.
Shameless plug. I didn't intend on
Share
that,
it
to
in
be
the
honest. Yeah,
comments.
yeah, I can share it in the comments. But I have utilized that and
Yeah.
enjoy that as well. But I mean, it all just comes back to, again, just being more mindful, not only with the sun exposure, but just how I'm treating my skin and my hydration and all those kind of good things. I think
Yeah.
it's going to have a lasting impact.
Yeah. I love it. So good. Hey, and in closing, is there anything else that you want to say, like not just on this topic, like with the sun, but just like there are so many things when it comes to raw food and health and myths out there. Is there anything that you're like, oh man, that is something I
Uh,
would really love to share as well?
uh, well, that's a really big rabbit hole we could go
Yes.
down. There are so many subjects, but I mean, I think the short kind of one that I would say is just, like, really consider all sides, realize again that this lifestyle is incredibly powerful, but it is just one aspect of health, and be honest with yourself, like what other aspects could you work on, because I've seen people who just completely pigeonhole raw food, and they're like micromanaging to like the gram of whatever of hemp seed to like, which I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but like they're just completely just focused on this and like fasting diet, but they have horrible self-talk, or they're not getting good sleep, or they don't exercise at all, or they're very judgmental of people around them, or they don't get any sunshine whatsoever, or they're mouth breathing, or there are a whole bunch of different things, right? And having an honest assessment of self and working on those things that are the weaker links is going to bring even more powerful benefits and results than just absolutely pigeonholing raw food diet as the number one cure all for everything in their life, because
Yeah.
I can say I actually used to feel like that. If I just get diet perfect, I'm going to be a perfect God being. I'll be completely enlightened. I can never get hurt. I'll never get sunburnt. I'll be like invincible and like, and lead everyone to the promised land. And it's like, you know, hey, there's some truth to all that. It does help in so many ways, and it's inspiring, and it's amazing, and it helps the animals, it helps the planet. Like, I'm a champion for
Yeah.
it, 1,000%. It's
Yeah.
amazing, but it's just, again, it's just one aspect of health, and the more we see that, and the more we really self introspect and be honest with ourselves and dig deep and develop ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually,
Yes.
foster compassion in all ways. I think the better results we're going to have, because kind of like you said, I mean, we're talking about skin cancer, but this doesn't make you invulnerable from any type of cancer. And there are things that you can be doing, whether you're, completely stressed out, never sleeping, judging, all these things, they can have an impact as well. And some things aren't even really affected by diet, unfortunately. Like, there are some genetic types of cancer that they can crop up no matter what diet you're on. Maybe that's controversial, but it's not in other circles, right? So something just to put in your hat, I guess.
Yeah. That's good, Chris. I love that. It's really about health in body, soul, and spirit. And you can eat like all the great stuff that is so good for heart health, but if you walk around with bitterness in your heart and unforgiveness,
Yeah.
your heart is not going to be as healthy as it should be.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
Yeah,
it
so
closes everything off,
yeah,
right? It's like it's that internal stress basically restricts everything, and that restricts your body's ability to, detoxify and nourish and energetically to express itself in its most vibrant state, to operate at its fullest potential and to really truly be in homeostasis. So that's why I do it. I like to stay away from, like, oh, well, the most important thing is this, because like the yogis will say that, and the raw foodists will say that, and the breather people will say that, and the meditators will say that. But again, it's really a whole package,
yeah,
and all of it is really important. And, the things we're the furthest off with, for a lot of people, it's diet. For a lot of people, it's mindset. For a lot of people, it's maybe fitness. But whatever that is, the more attention we can bring to it, the more compassion to ourselves we can bring to it, and the more mindfulness we can bring to it to go in a direction of balance, the better
yes,
results we're going to get.
yes. Love it. And it's also all about embracing yourself, accepting
Yeah.
yourself, not being
Yep.
hard on
Yeah.
yourself. And you said earlier, like, the more people are black and white towards you, it's really a reflection of what is going on inside of someone. They
Yeah.
probably are super hard on themselves.
Yeah.
And actually, when I hear people talk very much in absolutes and, the never and always, then I actually feel sorry for them because I'm
Yeah.
thinking, are you probably really hard on yourself? And
Absolutely.
what I usually do is start asking them questions to actually make a little assessment, like where are they at in life, and
Yeah.
just and the best thing that we can do in moments like that is just to love on them and just tell them that they're amazing, and
Yeah.
if they tell something like a little accomplishment, how proud you are of them, just to break down that wall
Yeah.
of being hard on yourself and being so judgmental on yourself. And most often, it just stems out of this childhood and like traumas that we are maybe not even aware
Yeah.
of. And it is truly about being healthy in body, soul, and spirit, and just being super
Yeah.
forgiving towards yourself and your surroundings, and to live wholeheartedly and lightheartedly.
Mhm.
And that just makes an amazing difference. And if you then also enjoy lots of raw food, I mean, you're top of the world, man.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really does open up everything. And I mean, when it opens up things, sometimes you don't like what comes out, and it's
Yeah,
something to see and to feel and to deal with and to grow through. And you're so right. I mean, for for lack of a better way of putting it, and it could seem cliche, but it is powerful, especially when I first heard it. Maybe someone here hasn't heard it, but hurt people,
yeah,
right? And it's like,
exactly.
it is really a strong truth, and that's why things become cliches and stuff like that, because it's just a strong truth.
Yeah,
And we have the opportunity. That's the way I like to look at it. We have endless opportunity, but when somebody's coming at us with their crap and trying to lay it on us, we can either have the opportunity to knee jerk and reflect it back and double down and make it stinkier and louder and harder on both of us and just both be resonating at a lower level,
yeah,
or we can see it as an opportunity to see them for who they really are
exactly.
and offer them a huge helping full of compassion and
Yeah,
understanding, and know that it's just a reflection. It's them coming at us, right? So
so true.
nothing but opportunities, right? Nothing but opportunities to grow.
Yeah, to grow and to love on people and to be
Yeah.
good to people. That's
Yeah.
where it's all about.
we're,
And just,
we're gonna slip up, right? We're gonna slip up sometimes
yeah,
and give them a big spoonful of crap right back, but the more compassionate we can be for ourselves, and the more aware we can be of when we do that and how it makes us feel, and is that something I want to repeat? And it's just I guess it's a never ending choice and
yeah,
opportunity.
yeah. And you know what? When we slip up, it happens. And the cool thing is that you just can say, "Hey, I'm sorry. Can you forgive me?"
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
you know
Yeah,
and
yeah,
new slate, new
yeah,
beginning, and just really learning like to let go
yeah,
of things, and you know what, that forgiveness is so powerful, because the one that is really in jail is you, not the person that you're holding crutches against. No, it's your heart that has these bars around it, and it's just no bueno. It's not healthy, it's not fun. And
it's poisoning yourself, right? You end up harming yourself more than them with the poison you give. So that's a tough lesson to learn.
My last question to you is this. You've got an amazing resource in the Vibrant Health Bundle. Yes. And I thought maybe you can share a little bit about it with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of funny because, I've been doing this for quite a while and consulting for a long time, and a lot of people have asked me for meal plans, and my stubborn kind of holistic kind of hygiene background. I was just like, just pick the fruit that's in season and just grab it. It's easy. Just do this. Like, I've been resistant towards making meal plans. But I listened and I made some, and I made them in a way that I felt it would be the most beneficial, dividing them up into seasons to make it not only more accessible for what's available in those seasons, but make it less expensive, And so in the bundle here, I have my 21-day fall meal plan. I made it 21 days because they say 21 days is how long it takes to create a new habit. I've since heard that maybe it takes, double that, so you can just do it twice, But but it is a guideline. I don't necessarily expect people to take it and like do it exactly to a T. Like, have some flexibility. Like, do it to a T if you want, but utilize it. Find the recipes you love. Eat more of them. It has not only tons of recipes in it, but it has the shopping lists in there. It has breakdowns for typically what quantity for the average active male or average active female, kind of overviews, kind of a holistic viewpoint on the health and how to apply it. And it's full of recipes that are ranging from one ingredient, just mono meals, which is amazing. And that's what Mother Nature generally provides and animals out there are eating, and up to, I think, 8 or 9 ingredients for a little bit more fancy stuff. So it's kind of formulated in such a way that the first week or so is a little bit simpler, and then you get kind of like the party weekend recipe, and then by the last recipe at the end is kind of like a celebration, a little bit fancier. So it tries to kind of encompass what I would consider a well-rounded, balanced raw food lifestyle. And you can carry it into like, creating a long-term sound plan that, offers, again, simplicity, but also variety and fun recipes as well. And I think that's what shines here in the bundle. Is it's like, there's really a mix of like from juicing to like super simple recipes to more gourmet and fitness and mindset and setting up your kitchen and, sprouting and, just so much, so much emotional development, like there's so much in it that it covers every single aspect and avenue. And even if you just resonate with 3 or 4 or 5 of the 36 resources, you're going to more than get your money's worth. And it can really impact you in a way to streamline your whole lifestyle.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, if you haven't gotten the bundle yet, go to Chris' link in his bio and get the bundle today. It's only available for 3 more days, babies.
Can't believe
3 more days.
It's going fast. It's going fast.
It goes so fast. Oh my goodness. Yes. Thank you so much for your heart, sharing your heart with us today. I really appreciate your openness and transparency about it. And your willingness. I really, really appreciate it. And also, could have chosen a totally different route and not sharing it with anyone and just keeping on the radar completely, and no one would have known. And you didn't, and I think it's so brave, and it's a great thing to do. And you're just a wonderful influence in that regard as well. And for anyone who hasn't watched Chris's video on this topic, it's on his YouTube channel. Maybe you can share the title, because I don't know the title, but then it's easier for them to look it up. And I would really recommend you to watch it and to hear his story even more fully. It's an important topic, guys. And let's love deeply, love, and a lot of laughter and a lot of happiness, and live light. Forgive
I love it.
easily.
Let's raise
Don't
it
be
up,
too busy to
right?
smell the roses.
Yeah, exactly. Let's raise it all up together. The world needs it. The animals need it. And I think we're all experiments of one, but what we're doing is very, very powerful. And coming together like this, I really appreciate you inviting me to be a part of this bundle, and also inviting me on to talk about this, because I just so agree. The world needs it. I think it's a message that needs to be heard. So
Yes.
the videos that you mentioned. So everything I do is at TheRawAdvantage.com. Or TheRawAdvantage here on Instagram. Anywhere you go, it's
Yeah.
TheRawAdvantage. But the first video I made on it is called Basal Cell Carcinoma and the Dangers of Sunburn. And that was about this one here, and me getting the prognosis or diagnosis. And then I made a video just March 2022, or 2024 rather, my experiences with Effudix skin cancer cream. So there's that one as well. So those are both on my website. And I mean, if you just write the Raw Advantage carcinoma or the Raw Advantage cancer, the videos will pop right up in
Pop.
Google.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll pop right up.
Great. Thank you so much once again. And thank you everyone for tuning in. And for anyone who watches this later, if you have any questions, pop them in the comments. We will check it and we will get
Absolutely.
back to you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And just as a request, please add me as a collaborator.
Yes.
Definitely want this on my wall.
Oh,
100%.
no worries. I definitely do that. You bet.
Awesome.
Thank you
Awesome.
so
Thanks so
much.
much, Mirjam.
Have a
Have
great
an awesome
night.
night. Bye, everyone.
And not too little, not too much, just right. Thanks so much for having me on, Mirjam.
Grab your free raw recipe app, available on iPhone and Android, with over 100 free raw recipes, common fruit and vegetable calorie breakdown, freaking raw, some food combining chart, shopping cart function, and so much more.